Welcome to Sunset Yoga, Yin. Michelle Chua here. Just take a moment to lie down or sit down, meeting yourself where you're feeling energetically. So in the past couple of days, our yoga classes have focused on change and how we deal with change and how sometimes when we resist it, it can cause us suffering. I love this quote by Thich Nhat Hanh, mindfulness author. We should not be afraid of suffering. We should be afraid of only one thing, and that is not knowing how to deal with our suffering. There are a couple of Yoga Sutras that elaborate. Yoga Sutra Book 2, number 15 says, change, longing, habits, and the activity of the gunas can all cause us suffering. In fact, even the wise suffer, for suffering is everywhere. And then verse 16, prevent the suffering that is yet to come. Not necessarily avoid the suffering, as there are things that we can't control, like change. But as you know, we can control how we react and perceive things. So let me just quickly dissect those 4 aspects of causes of suffering in that first sutra. So we talked about change, and longing is that seeking of something that feels unattainable, that creates a sense of resistance to what we even desire. And then habits. We've talked a few times about samskaras, which are impressions in our subconscious mind due to repetitive thinking, which creates belief about a certain subject, which creates a narrative that isn't always true, but perpetuates self-limitations or ideas of separateness from others. And then gunas, generally speaking, are our energy. And we can either be on the side of very, very low tamasic energy, kind of sluggish, or on the opposite end of very fiery energy. And it's finding that balance constantly throughout the day in day-to-day life. And when it's out of balance, that can cause suffering. But got me to reflecting through my own personal experience, how might we contribute to even more suffering than taking the place? Take for the case of feeling triggered. Somebody says something and you have this reactive anger or fear inside. What do you do with that? One response is to go on a rampage, right? Just let it go. There's a time warp. That trigger takes you back to a past instance, and you connect this present person with that past present, or that past person that hurt you once, and apply to the current situation, if that makes any sense. Or we can take a step back in the process of mindfulness, take a deep breath or several. And this is definitely a practice, right? Especially when you're in the heat of the moment, to become more aware of what emotions are present, remembering that emotions are messengers and portals of insight as well. And then from there, perhaps eliminate the need to trample onto one limiting belief after another, which in itself can perpetuate suffering or add on to the suffering. Well, how about in the case of physical yoga? Let's say you're injured, or you know there's a very stiff area in your body. How might we perpetuate suffering there when we start to enter a posture that focuses on that area of the body? Sometimes the mind will start to play these stories like, oh, it's that bad knee, or, this is gonna hurt. So it already fuels the fire of something that hasn't happened. So how do we relax from that a bit? Well, the key, as I keep reading in these mindfulness articles, is awareness. First step, being aware. And then having that willingness to take a step, a space from that situation. Even though you're in the pose itself, you can even lessen the intensity of the posture as we hold these yin postures a little longer. And really just become more curious, kind and patient to yourself. adding the other tools of the 8 limbs of yoga: non-violence, diligent practice, self-study, that self-awareness, and truthfulness, seeking to really see what's there beyond the perceptions of the mind. So let's practice that as we get into these deeply opening postures, which aren't always so delicious at first. Taking our time with our breaths, giving ourselves some kindness as we move through the process. So if you're in a different position, please find your comfortable seat. You might like to place your pelvis on top of a prop, slightly lifting it. And then just rest your hands on your lap for a moment. If you're feeling very energized, whether the body or the mind, you might turn the palms to face down to draw a little more groundedness. If it's the opposite, kind of lethargic and sluggish, you might turn the palms face up for a sense of upliftedness. Perhaps you close your eyes and just allow a moment to pause. Feel into anything your body is telling you right now. Through physical sensations. Observe the posture, alignment of your spine, your shoulders, your neck, your jaw. Take notice of the flow of your natural breath. Does it feel inhibited in any way, or does it feel free-flowing? Befriending your body, your breath, and your minds by giving it your presence. As you firm down on what you're sitting on, allow a deeper breath to encourage your spine to lift a little taller. Allow your chest to broaden. And then to your lips, whisper the breath all the way out, finding areas of your body you could perhaps relax to feel more comfortably upright. Again, press down into what you're sitting on and allow a deeper breath in, lifting up through each vertebra of your spine. Feel the back of your skull lift. And as you exhale through your mouth, listen to that breath. Notice any areas of your body here you could continue to soften, unclench, relax. Try a couple more breaths like that on your own. And now as you continue to deepen your breath, try closing your lips, if that's comfortable for you, and just breathe steadily through your nose. Softly narrow the back of your throat so that you can hear a gentle whispering sound as you breathe through your nose, helping you to sustain your breath evenly in and out. Taking your time to fully expand into your belly and lungs, and to completely empty your breath. Let this set the tone of patience and observation. Now, if you're crossing your legs, try switching the opposite leg on top or in front. Just balancing out your hips. And then from here, let your hands press down onto your lap as you sit tall and relax the shoulders slightly behind you, and then downward. Start to tilt your chin down towards your chest, not losing the length of your lower back as you do this. And on an inhale, circle your head gently towards your left shoulder. Then looking up. As you exhale, finish the other half of that circle. So you're really taking your time, being gentle with this motion. Try one more circle in this direction. And then a couple more circles in the opposite direction. And if you notice any creakiness, feel free to slow down and even pause in a certain position that will help to release that area. Nice. And then from here, relax with the crown of your head. So to warm up the hips just a bit more, let's lie down on our backs. Straightening your left leg forward on the floor. Bend your right knee into your chest. We're going to also warm up the ankles, so start to circle your right foot. Breathing in, breathing out. As you relax both shoulders on the ground, feel the natural curve of your neck. And then circle your right foot in the opposite direction a few more times. Point your right toes. Flex your right foot. Curl the toes back and spread them. Try that a couple more times. Point and flex. So in this way, you're also warming up your calf, your shin. Nice. And then from here, bring your left hand on top of your left thigh, just below your hip bone, and press the back of your left hip onto the ground so both hips are grounded. And as you hold your outer right knee, begin to rotate your right thigh gently to your right, just the amount that doesn't feel any strain. And then circle the right thigh back to your midline. Just like that, you're just circling your right thigh bone at your hip socket. Listening to the calm, balanced flow of your breath. And then go in the opposite direction a few more times. So before holding deep stretching yin postures, I like to move the area we're about to hold the posture in. And then from here, start to splay your right thigh open. Flex your feet here. That will help to keep your pelvis evenly grounded, as well as support your right knee as you open the right thigh at the hip. And then holding here, so it's like a half frog position with the legs lying on your back. Notice if the right side of your torso starts to feel squished, shortening so that the left side feels longer. If so, send that right hip crease forward, away from your right armpit and towards your left inner heel. So internally, you're shifting the pelvis a bit if it's tilting out of balance to re-lengthen both sides of your torso. Now we're not going to hold this posture for too long. Let's take about 5 more deep breaths. Remember that as you explore the depth of a posture, you always have the option to ease a little out of the depth you've entered if the body is signaling any sharp pain. Never want any sharp pain. But sometimes there is some discomfort in stretching muscles. So be observant of the difference. And then from here, bring your right knee closer to your right armpit. Now think of happy baby pose with just your right leg. So bring your right arm inside of your right thigh and catch hold of your right ankle or outer right foot. Lift the sole of your right foot towards the sky like you're a waiter and you're holding a tray on the sole of that foot. And then draw your right knee towards the ground. Keep pressing your left hip downward. So in this half happy baby, which is basically like a lying down version of lizard lunge, we also get to broaden the sacrum, create space across your lower back. So if you tend to have any stiffness or notice any right now in your lower back, you might picture that area breathing into there, allowing more space into it. And as you breathe out, consciously relax your muscles alongside your lower back. We'll be here for about 5 more deep breaths. Continue to rest both of your shoulders, just like your 2 hips, evenly on the floor. If your head is straining in any way, you could always put a pillow underneath it. Nice, and then from here, bending your left knee, step your left foot on the ground, and then turn out your right thigh to cross your right ankle on top of your left thigh, like a figure 4. Now flex your right foot again, and with your right hand at the top inner side of your right thigh, that's close to where your jean pocket would be, gently press your right thigh open. But keep grounding the left side of your glutes. You might be feeling a subtle or not so subtle release in your right hip flexors here. If you've been sitting, perhaps you work from home on Zoom at the computer for long periods of time, that area can get really tense. And the psoas is also an area known for carrying a lot of emotional stress. So as you press the inner top of your right thigh away from your belly, that's forward. Keep grounding the left side of your hip too. Now we're holding these postures not quite as long as usual. They're kind of introductory postures for now. So let's move on by threading your right hand between your thighs. With both hands, catch hold of the back of your left thigh and slowly bring it closer to your torso. Breath by breath, just observing where you can still keep your shoulders and head grounded. And now if you're able to bring that calf pretty close to your chest, you might opt to hold the front of your left shin instead of your left thigh. With the help of your right arm, you could also nudge open your inner right thigh as you bring your left leg closer. Now let's take 10 deep breaths, a little bit longer here. Focusing on consistent, gently audible breathing. Do you notice any shift in the slightest bit, physically or energetically, as you hold this pose longer? Now, counting your own 10 breaths. When you do finish, take your time, no rush. Just eventually set your 2 feet flat on the ground so both knees are bent. You're in a more neutral position. And then from there, just let the arms rest by your sides. Feel both of your hips grounded as you take a few breaths. In the past, it's been a struggle personally to be this still, to practice yin yoga. How interesting that my body responds so well to it. It's like, give me some more, please. So slide your right leg forward on the ground. Bend your left knee into your chest. Start to circle your left foot at the ankle. Then switch directions. Notice that your head and shoulders are still relaxed on the ground or your pillow. And point and flex your left foot. Stretching into your calf, top of your foot into your shin. Then from here, take hold of your outer knee with your left hand. Press your right hand on top of your right thigh, just below your hip bone, to help ground the back of your right hip. Flex both of your feet, then begin to slowly turn out your left thigh. Then circle it all the way back in towards the midline. Turn it out and circle it back in. Take a few more rounds. Then switch directions. We're just helping to lubricate your hip joint first. You might also feel some loosening in your lower back and a nice massage pressure into your glutes. Now from here, let's take that half supine frog position with your left knee bending open. Think of creating a 90-degree bend at your knee. Still flexing both of your feet. As you're flexing your left foot, you're helping to engage the muscles around your left knee joint to stabilize it in alignment. Learning from past knee injury, if the hip is really tight and you're trying to open the leg or turn it out, sometimes the body will compensate wanting to turn out more by rotating at the knee joint, which is not meant to rotate. So by flexing your left foot, you're keeping that knee joint in its place and you're focusing that rotation at your hip. Now let's take 5 more deep breaths. Keep weighing down your right hip. If your left side body is shortening, consciously direct your left hip crease towards your inner right heel. And when you finish those 5 breaths, let's prepare for half happy baby. So bend your left knee close to your left armpit again. Lift the sole of your left foot and placing your left arm on the inside of your left leg. Catch hold of your outer ankle or your outer foot. Imagine you're balancing a tray on the sole of your left foot. As you're drawing your left knee closer to the ground, outside of your left shoulder, keep pressing the back of your right hip steady on the ground. You might choose to visualize directing your breath across your lower back here too. But honestly, in any posture, if you start to feel more pronounced sensation in any part of your body, I find it helpful to shine the spotlight of your breath there as a means of acknowledging it and allowing it to feel heard. And sometimes that's all it needs to begin to unwind and even dissolve. All right, last 2 breaths. Now, bending your right knee, step your right foot onto the ground so that you can cross your left ankle. as you're flexing your left foot on top of your right thigh, like a figure four. Allow a moment to shift your pelvis if you need so that they're rebalanced. And then use your left hand on the top inner side of your left thigh to gently splay open your left thigh while still grounding your right hip so your pelvis does not tilt off balance. Feel your breath and into the areas where you're directing it to expand. And as you breathe out, feel the areas where you're directing it to soften. As we slow down the breath consciously, notice the effect on your mind. And now let's thread your left hand in between your thighs, using both hands to catch hold of the back of your right thigh. Keep flexing your left foot. You can relax the right foot. And as you slowly bring your right thigh closer to your torso, take your time, breath by breath. You can use your left arm to gently nudge your left thigh to keep splaying open. Feel that your shoulders are still relaxed away from your neck. You have a natural curve in your cervical spine at your neck. And if your left calf is pretty close to your chest, you might opt to hold the front of your right shin instead of your right thigh. So we're down to 7 more breaths here. Finishing your own count, take your time. We'll eventually meet at that more neutral position where you lower both feet onto the ground with your knees bent. Letting your arms rest by your sides or on top of your belly, which can feel soothing and grounding. Allow a few breaths to just be still and observe how your body or even mind have responded. Now start to bend your knees both into your chest, rocking gently side to side until you can turn all the way to one side, resting your head down. Pressing your hands onto the floor, slowly lift your torso, lifting your head last. We're going to make our way into a squat. That's why we have this folded feet like that. So you want to fold it to the thickness of, I don't know if you can see that, maybe 1.5 inches or 2 inches, maybe more if you find that you need more. Pretty wide because we're going to step the feet apart. Come on to stand so that your heels are on that front edge of the folded towel. The balls of your feet and your toes are on the ground. And then you want to turn out your legs from your hips, right? Keeping your knees safe. Make sure you're rotating from the hip joints and not from the knees, nor just from the ankles. so that the middle of your kneecaps align with your middle toes. Heels are on the blanket. You just start to bend your knees, start to lower like chair pose, and just notice how that feels on your knees. We'll come up to stand. We're going to warm up the knees a bit before we do it. Bend your knees, try to lift your chest, and then come up to stand. Breathe in, breathe out, and bend. 3 more times. Inhale up, exhale, bend. And just on your own. So if you're finding that your knees are like up here is, then feel free to even walk your heels wider apart. You could come in more the stance. Otherwise, you might have your ankles a little wider than distance as you turn out your legs and come down into a squat. There's another option, another modification. You could also grab your pillow or stack your blocks however high you need and place it right underneath your glutes. So you have your heels on the blanket and your pelvis on a block. That can be helpful too. Generally, you don't want your knees to overbend much further away from your ankles. So whether you have a block or not, use your arms to help splay your inner thighs and feel rooted down through your feet and even your pelvis, even if it's hanging in the air. So draw your tailbone downward and then imagine maybe by closing your eyes, as you breathe in, you're lifting and restacking from your lower vertebra up to the crown of your head. Keep opening your chest and allow the fronts of your shoulders to slightly roll behind you, melting your shoulder blades down your back ribs. Let's continue the cycles of breath up the front body from tailbone to crown of your head, down your back body as you exhale, down the backs of your shoulders, down to the base of your spine. One more breath like that. You could have your hands together in prayer at your chest as well, as that can help display the thighs apart too. Now we're going to add a twist here, help to release the spine a bit. So cross your right hand in front of your right leg, and you might place it on a prop, whatever kind of platform you have nearby. And then as you nudge that right thigh open, use your left hand on the top inner side of your left thigh. Keep rooting your feet and pelvis downward. Lift your spine, relax your shoulders and breathe in, and then twist to your left towards the thigh you're pressing. Keep lifting the spine as you breathe in and gently twisting as you breathe out. Relaxing the trapezius muscle that's along the neck, back of the neck, tops of the shoulders, down towards the shoulder blades. Relax that area. We won't be holding this too long, just about 5 more deep breaths. Then as you come back slowly to center, if your knees need a break from bending, go ahead and stand slowly. You might shake out your legs a bit and then come back down if needed. If you're fine here, feel free to stay. And then once you come back to your squat, cross your left arm in front of your left thigh, reach for the floor or some kind of prop to elevate your hand on, and keep nudging your left thigh open with your arm. Use your right hand on the inner side of your right thigh as you lift the spine from the pelvis, relax the shoulders down and breathe in. As you exhale, turn your chest towards your right side. So I'm mirroring you here. Continue to lift the spine from your pelvis as you breathe in and rotate your chest further into the twist as you breathe out. Notice that your knees are still pointing outwards. Now continue that for about 5 more breaths while I go and turn the music back on. I guess it decided to stop. And as you finish the breath, come back to center And this time, you're going to place the hands in front, parallel your feet, a little wider than hips distance, and come into a standing forward fold. Bending your knees generously. You could remove that blanket from under your heels. So as you bend your knees a lot, see how much you can line, neck, and head just hang. You might even like to hold up. Begin to sway your spine as you breathe in and out through your nose. Feel that your weight is heavier forward towards the balls of your feet rather than your heels. So that it allows your hips to begin stacking right above your ankles rather than swaying behind your ankles. If you're holding the elbows, switch the cross elbow on top. And it might even feel good to release your neck by letting your head no a few times. Nodding your head yes. And if you start to feel your legs, your lower back, start to alleviate it. Or you could use the support of your hands on in front of you or on your legs, just not pressing your knees. And then from here, dropping your skull and perhaps even dropping your arms if they're not pressing your legs to support your lower back. With knees bent, spread the toes, and as you breathe in, very slowly roll your spine upright. Imagine restacking from the lower vertebra up to your crown. And once you do start to lift your skull, shrug your shoulders. And with a deep exhalation, rotate them behind you and then down. As you breathe in, reach your arms overhead, hooking your thumbs like you're making an eagle puppet like this. Gently pull your thumbs apart. You feel a connection to your navel here, so the navel slightly draws in. And then roll your shoulders behind you. See if you can bend your elbows slightly forward rather than apart. And then keep pressing the shoulder blades down. Softly press your hip bones forward. Feel your tailbone like an anchor reaching for the ground as you lift the back ribs away from it, lengthening your lower back. Begin to coil your chest up lightly as you broaden it, relaxing the shoulders downward away from your neck. Begin to gaze up. Feel the length in the back of your neck. Taking just 3 more breaths here, opening up the chest, encouraging expansion in your lungs. Nice. As you breathe out, release your arms down by your sides. Inhale, circle the arms overhead again. This time let your palms touch as you look up. Release your shoulders down. Bend your knees slightly and hinge as you exhale, folding with a feeling of a flat back. Press into the ground ahead or your legs, and as you breathe in, lift your chest. Now lower onto your hands and your knees, all fours. So from hands and knees, start to glide forward, bend your elbows back, lowering your chin to the floor. Then gently slide your chest, belly, and pelvis so that your legs are straight back. Slide your forearms forward as you lift your chest, coming into Sphinx pose. Have your elbows slightly in front of your shoulders. Parallel your forearms in front of you as you press your palms face down. Now bring your knees as close together as you can while pointing your toes back. You're gonna give the fronts of the hips and thighs a bit of opening, so cross your left forearm in front of your chest, keeping your chest lifted. Bend your right knee, then backstroke your right arm to help open the front of your right shoulder. Now with your right hand, reach for the inner side or the big toe side of your right ankle or foot, not the outer side, which tends to round the shoulder. Then having your knees no wider apart than your hips distance, as you breathe, begin to draw your right heel slightly towards the outside of your right hip, lengthening that huge muscle, your quadricep, the front of your right thigh. Now feel the support of your left forearm pressing against the ground. Notice that you're not leaning heavily into your left shoulder joint as though you're shrugging the shoulder. Instead, rebound your weight off the floor to your left elbow and allow the left shoulder to release back as you create space within that shoulder joint. Feel the weight of the front of your pelvis pressing against the earth to allow space within your lower back. Observing any slight shift, sensation, or thoughts. Let's provide space for 5 more breaths here. And when you finish your own count of 5 breaths, gently release your right leg and return to the neutral Sphinx pose. Both forearms parallel. Slide your knees close together. Allow a few breaths in that neutral Sphinx as you encourage your 2 collarbones to broaden apart from your sternum to each shoulder head, while softening the shoulders downward, lengthening the back of your neck. Then cross your right forearm in front of your chest, keeping your chest lifted. Bend your left knee, backstroke your left arm, opening the front of your shoulder. Catch hold of the inside big toe side of left ankle or foot. And if your knee has splayed wider from the midline, bring it back closer so that your knees are only hips distance. Breath by breath, explore bringing your left heel closer to just outside of your left hip, while keeping your 2 frontal hip bones weighing on the ground to encourage space within your lower back. Feel the support of your right forearm pressing the earth, through which you can rebound a force to create space within your right shoulder joint rather than compression. As we lengthen into the left quadricep, let's tune in here. 5 more breaths. And when you finish your count of 5 breaths, gently release your left leg. Come back to Sphinx for just a few breaths. Does anything feel different here? Then lower your hand back alongside your floating ribs and gently press the ground away to lift up onto your hands and knees. Coming to sit, you might grab your blanket and elevate your pelvis on it to help sit up taller. You extend your left leg forward and then take your right thigh, cross it over your left thigh into a half cow face pose. So you're trying to stack your knees down your midline. Now reach for your strap. I should have asked you to get that first. And go ahead and loop the ball of your left foot with your strap, just the ball of the foot. Flexing the foot as you gently pull the strap. Give yourself enough slack so that you can hold the strap with 2 hands while your shoulders are resting down. Chest is broad and slightly lifted. As you press your 2 sitting bones in the ground, lift from lower vertebra to crown and take a deep breath. Keep your chest open. And as you exhale, hinge forward towards your left shin just a little bit, then pause. From down to your pelvis and lengthen to your spine a little more as you breathe in. Belly firms gently towards your back. Hold a little more if you can as you breathe out. Taking your time to explore the range of your forward fold as we open into the glutes, outer hips, left hamstring, outer thighs, lower back. As we're here for about 2 more minutes, it's quite a while, I invite you to scan all throughout your body. Is there a reaction somewhere as you're opening your hips and hamstring? Is there unnecessary gripping, sort of like that unnecessary suffering? And maybe it's even somewhere small, like that skin on your forehead between your eyebrows. As I'm reminding you, I'm reminding myself. Now, if you'd like to grab a prop, maybe you have your folded blanket or your pillow, you could put your forehead on it as you're holding your strap so that your head is relaxed on something. Do keep that gentle flex of your left foot as it allows your left quadricep to flex too in support of your left hamstring. It's this feeling of slightly lifting your left kneecap towards your left frontal hip bone without locking the knee. Got about 5 more breaths here. Notice the space along all the sides of your neck. And when you're ready, press your hands onto the ground alongside your left leg. Begin to lift your chest first, then inhale, slowly rise up. Straightening both of your legs, unflex your feet. You might even want to move around that left foot. Release any tension from flexing. Now let's take the strap onto the ball of your right foot and flex the right foot. Cross your left thigh over the right as much as you can to help hug your midline. Have your pillow nearby in case you'll want to rest your head on it. And as you give your hands enough slack to relax the shoulders back and down, gently pull the strap and feel a sense of lifting your right kneecap towards the hip bone without locking your knee. Press into the ground with your pelvis and breathe in to lift your spine a little. Chest wide open, a little bit, and then pause. As you breathe in, anchor your sitting bones and elongate your spine some more. As you breathe out, perhaps hinge forward a little more. And just like that, exploring your own range of this forward fold. Notice the qualities of your breath here. Be here for about 2 more minutes. And again, if you like, you could place a prop under your forehead as you pull the strap and flex your right foot. Now again, observe your shoulders, your neck. Does that area of your body still feel relaxed? And if not, what slight adjustments could you make? Feel your mouth. Allow your tongue to completely soften as you relax your jaw. We have about 5 more breaths here. Now at your count, when you're ready to rise up, lead with your chest, and with a slow inhale, lift your spine. So I'd love to set us up for elevating our legs onto something. So if you have a wall nearby, you could scoot against that. Otherwise, you might want to grab a chair, or maybe there's a couch or a bed nearby that you could elevate your legs on top so that your legs will be higher than your heart, but you're not efforting to keep them up. You could even stack a bunch of your props, make a tower out of your books and your pillow, you know. So pretending this curtain is a wall, if you are using the wall, you want to scoot right up against it with one hip so that you're sitting on sideways, and then you'll turn over onto your side so that you're in a fetal position before you can slide closer to the wall until both sitting bones are touching the wall. And once both glutes are on the wall, then you can roll onto your back and lift your legs right against the wall. So there's not much space between the wall and your body, and that will help support the knees. If your pelvis is really far away from the wall, you might feel pressure in your knee joints. Now, if you do have a wide enough wall space to straddle your legs apart, you could also add another hip opener here. And if you're feeling that you need to support your outer thighs with something, just make sure they're even, like 2 same size yoga blocks. You can use like bookends under your outer thighs like this, or folded up blankets. And eventually, as you hold this for a couple of minutes, you might lower those items as your inner thighs might unravel. So whichever way you're lifting your legs up, do a little check-in with your whole body. Feel that your 2 shoulders are evenly relaxed. If your head needs to be elevated, place something underneath. that doesn't cause compression at your throat. And then your shoulder blades are released down your back, chest is broad, the two hips are balanced and evenly supported. And then once you feel that symmetrical as possible, weight towards the ground, you could either let the palms turn up slightly by your sides, or you could rest your hands on your belly. Again, that's grounding and soothing, warming for the digestive region. And then close your eyes perhaps, and turn your attention to the subtler areas of your body. Scanning through the face, what areas might still be efforting that you could notice and release. And on your own, scanning the rest of your body for any subtle ways they call your attention. Staying here for just another minute. So if you are in legs at the wall or legs at the couch or other prop, remember that this is a great posture if you feel pressure in the head, headaches or anything like that, especially if you're closer to the fires, hurt temples. And this is just a wonderful posture for helping to relax the nervous system. Get it out of the fight or flight mode, which then also helps your digestion. As your body is relaxed, it can use its energy elsewhere. You might find it useful before bed to help you get a good night's sleep as well. So sometimes I'll be in legs at the wall pose for 5 minutes, maybe even longer, and sometimes fall asleep there. Now, have the choice to stay in the position you're in if you feel like it's completely restful. Have Shavasana there. Or if you're coming out of the pose, do it very gradually. If your legs are splayed open, you might place your hands to your outer thighs and slowly bring the legs closer together. Or then you could bend your knees into your chest. Turn over to one side. Rest your head. So this is an inversion. You're basically upside down. So coming out of an inversion, to avoid lightheadedness, you'll want to gradually lift your head up if you need to lift your head, so that you can move away from the wall, able to splay onto the floor. So as you for Shavasana, feel free to use your props in any creative way. If you're looking for a little more opening in the chest, you could do a supported one block under the skull, in block slightly in height under the backs of your blades, like this. If your lower back could use some, if you could use your pillow or a rolled up blanket underneath the backs of your knees so that they support gentle bend in your knees as you splay out your feet wider than hips distance. And turning the palms up, lining the backs of your hands on the ground can help to relax the shoulders, open the chest too. Putting the weight of a blanket on your pelvis can feel soothing as well. So once you've figured out that position, close your eyes. Again, mentally scan your body if you've switched positions. Feel symmetry and relaxation. And then I'll guide you into a short, calming breath work. So exhale completely, then pause your breath. Into your belly, slowly inhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Out to your mouth, exhale for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Into your belly, inhale 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Out to your mouth, exhale 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Try at least one more on your own. In 5, out 7. Then when you're ready, let go of controlling your breathing. And just allow your body to feel loved by you. Now, before any movement, notice the effects of your physical and mental practice, your breath practice. As you continue to observe and cultivate what you've been creating here in this past hour, nurture those qualities that offer you support. If you have more time to remain in Shavasana longer, feel free not to move. Otherwise, gently begin to turn over to one side. Perhaps you take a simple stretch. And then gradually lift your torso upright to sit, closing practice together. As you sit up tall, let your palms meet at your heart in this gesture of union. the various aspects of your being, as well as a gesture of gratitude to yourself for allocating this time, and to each other for sharing our practice together. Let's close with one Om. Take a deep breath. Light in me bows to the light in you. Namaste.